So welcome to Lifestyle Blueprints, and this is a special episode with one of my good friends, one of my best friends, Jamie Wakfield, and I hope you enjoy. It's a great conversation, and I had a fun time speaking to her about our experiences and her experiences, and I hope you all listen to this podcast and watch this podcast and learn a little bit about nursing and about Jamie and what to kind of look for when you're kind of pursuing the field of nursing. So I hope you enjoy. Kick back and take a sip of wine. And so remember to like, comment, subscribe. Cheers. Okay, so welcome everyone to the Lifestyle Bluecast. Oh, fuck. I'll, I'll cut that out. It doesn't matter. But welcome everyone. My name's Jordan, and this is the Lifestyle Blueprint podcast. I'm super excited to start this podcast to invite special guests such as this one today. Her name's Jamie Wakefield, and she is a registered nurse. And I'm super excited to get this conversation started. And we'll dive into her life journey, and we'll kind of talk about things. She's been a super good friend, and she also has been my housemate and co-worker. So we got a lot to talk about today, and I hope you guys all tune in, grab a drink, kick back, and stay tuned for some good conversation. So Jamie, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Things aren't the best, but things are going like okay. But how are you holding up with COVID?
Um, well, I would say it hasn't been that bad actually. I don't live alone, so I have friends around most of the time. I don't live near my parents, so that makes it a bit harder. But ever since I started working, I've been working since like COVID has started in this job. So it's like all I really have known in a way, besides when I was a student. So I feel like I started when it was already at its worst, so I don't really know what to compare it to. But I think if anything, it's been a good experience. I think.
Yeah, for sure. Like kind of like what has happened has kind of like I don't know helped you with your job experience, and it's like it's shitty for everyone else, but
Mm,
like it's helped me too because I kind of got exposed to the pandemic and what it like had like what impact it had on the healthcare system, and you especially probably had that same experience because you like directly deal with patients. So can you kind of like introduce yourself to us? I kind of give like a brief like introduction about like who you are, but tell all the viewers like who you are.
all right. Wow, I don't even know where to begin. So yeah, like Jordan said, I am working as a registered nurse in Kingston. I started in May was when I was hired, and I didn't become registered till July. So in those 2 months, I was just working as like under a temporary license, and I think even those were expedited because of COVID. They were giving us like the new grads licenses. There was even emergency licenses being given out just basically to get us started so
Yeah.
that there was more staff. Um, and yeah, that's what I do. I work full time now. In the beginning, I was part time, and then I worked my way up to full time temporarily.
Yeah, I'm
I didn't
proud of
really. Thanks.
I'm actually so, like I'm super proud of you, just like as a friend, and we'll like dive into like kind of the questions that kind of like you're gonna like I guess like the questions that will tell the story about how you got to like into nursing and like where you are right now. So, um, I guess like going back to like high school, like or like back in the day, like what inspired you, or like what were the influences that kind of inspired you to go into nursing? Yeah, it's like what inspired you to go into nursing?
It's funny because like I actually think about this all the time, and there's like a running joke in nursing, like when it's a bad day, we all like look at each other, and everyone's like, "Why do we think this was a good idea? Like, why did we decide to do this job? You know, like
Yeah,
sometimes it really sucks, and that's just like the truth. Obviously, I love my job, and I can't picture doing anything else. But when I look back, I don't remember there ever being like a specific moment where I was like, yes, this is what I want to do per se. I know I applied to a couple of different programs, like mostly nursing. I think I also applied to Con Ed, which I
true.
could never be a
Teacher
teacher.
guy, eh?
Looking now, like I'm like, oh my god,
Yeah,
thank
because I
goodness I
was
didn't
just
go
gonna
that
say like
route.
I was gonna say like knowing your personality and like no way.
Yeah, yeah, it wouldn't have worked out for me anyway. So everything happens for a reason anyway. But I think also I didn't really know the full, like I didn't even know what a nurse did really. Like I genuinely had no idea. I learned so much about what you do, like the job, 'cause, like I didn't really know. There's like what you know through what's portrayed like in TV and stuff, and like
Yeah,
I just know they work in the hospital and they the people who gave me my like injections and whatnot. Like I had no idea what their scope was, and then, like I said, it seemed like a good idea at the time. Like I just was like, yeah, that sounds like something I would want. And I knew I wanted to go to Queens. So that was like almost decided before I even knew for what. I think
yeah.
I decided that like before I was even in like grade 10, I knew I wanted to go to Queens.
Queen's universities, but like so. With that being said, I guess there were like no motivations, but you kind of like chose that based on like applications, either Con Ed or nursing.
Yeah.
But with
There
that,
actually,
yeah,
sorry to interrupt you.
yeah.
There
So,
was
go ahead.
one thing I like usually bring up is that when I was in my third and fourth year, my mom was in the hospital a lot
Yeah,
because she had colon cancer.
yeah,
I think that also kind of like got me into it a little bit more and maybe realized what they do. She also had home care come all the time, like home care nurses. And I was always kind of like, getting up, like asking them questions and like seeing what they were doing.
true.
So that was probably the main one, but that was like fourth year. Like I already knew I was going to be a nurse at that point.
True, but kind of like curiosity still though, like kind of like influencing still, kind of like contributing to like you accepting like not the fact, but you accepting to go to Queens for nursing.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think like almost everyone I've met in my program, they either have like their mom is a nurse or their grandma or their aunt. Like I don't really have that many in my
Kind of
family.
ancestors, eh? Just ancestor like
Yeah.
things, but like, but
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, but like, what makes me proud is like you're unique. You know what I mean? Like you are your own self. You're like you're chasing your own like your own path and like paving that journey for yourself. So like I truly respect that.
Thanks.
True. So, with that being said, Jamie, like you said, and you were like talking about how you knew you were gonna go to Queens, but like what made you pick Queens out of like Western, Toronto, Ottawa, like any other school? Like why Queens? Tell me why Queens.
Um,
Tell all the listeners, and then I'll kind of like give my 2 cents about like why I chose Queens as well.
yeah, sure. So I think in general, from where I'm from, it's not really as well known. Maybe now, like as the years have gone by, it's more well known. But just like I'm from near London, so it's super far from Kingston. People hadn't even really like heard of Kingston, I don't think,
Yeah.
at that point either. But I came to visit Queens when my sister was being recruited to play for hockey for Queens. So I came with my
Elite,
family. And
elite
um,
athlete.
at that point, she hadn't even like committed or anything, but I went for the tour and like we had a dinner and stuff there. And I was like, oh my gosh, this place is so cool. Like, it's so beautiful here. Like, it's right on the water. It looks so nice. And like, I don't know, obviously this doesn't, you don't feel this way, but I do. Like, bigger cities like are really overwhelming for me. Like,
Uh,
I can't picture myself living in Toronto like at any point. Maybe now, but like then, absolutely not. Like, I was 17 when you go to first year, right? Like,
true, yeah.
if you haven't lived in a city, I literally went to like a country high school. My town has like 2,000 people.
Lucas.
Like, like like I don't think I even considered cities anything in Toronto. I don't even think I looked at like applying there. It was also based off of the nursing programs and like kind of if they had a good rep. I know the other one that I applied to and got accepted to was in McMaster,
True.
but they have a really good nursing program because like they also have a teaching hospital on
Yeah,
campus,
yeah, for sure.
um, and it was like really highly recommended. But again, having already just had that bias, that I already had been to Queens and my sister was now going there.
Yeah.
I knew people there that just like put it above, and I didn't really love um, Hamilton. Like I didn't know like
You.
anyone there. Like I just yeah, like
Yeah,
no
sorry to
offense to
anyone who
anyone
like
who
yeah,
went
sorry to anyone
there.
who's like listening right now, but
It just
yeah,
wasn't doing it for me.
yeah,
So that's why. And Queens had a good nursing program. It was like I think that McMaster had like the highest averages like to get in because it was so competitive.
True. Uh,
Um,
I was kind of
so
like,
yeah,
yeah, I was gonna like speak about like my decision to go to Queens. So just for like the
yeah, let's hear
listeners,
it.
yeah, just for the listeners and the viewers, Jamie and I lived together last year, and I don't know, she can kind of speak on that experience later, but I didn't actually visit any schools. I applied to Western for two programs, kinesiology and medical sciences, got accepted to both. And then also applied to Ottawa, and I also applied to then Queens. I never visit any campuses, but I always like had a feeling that I want to go to Queens University just because of the reputation, like Jamie said. And just I don't know, I feel like Queens, like from like what I've read through kind of like blog posts and like kind of Reddit posts, that it's a super prestigious university. So when I ended up getting accepted to Queen's University, like that was it. Like I remember like running on like the cafeteria tables, being like, "Yes, sir!" Like I got accepted. I'm literally just going to Queen's University. But I like
Yeah.
honestly like with that being said, like like University is like an amazing school, and like the party experience is insane. Like we'll talk about that too. But other than
Hmm.
that, the academics are pretty good. The friends and the diversity of individuals there are also super good. So yeah, that's like why I chose Queens. And Jamie, like I was fortunate enough to meet Jamie, one of my best friends, and also live with her. So yeah, and
Yeah, it's a great
so
time.
yeah, so Jamie, you chose Queens. I know like Frosh Week is kind of like a big thing for like engineering, commerce, and not really for art sciences, but can you tell me about nursing? Because I feel like nursing kind of has like a huge Frosh Week based on like what they have with engineering and their like relationship.
Yeah, so it basically the entire thing is conjoined with Eng, besides like a few events we do like on our own. But our program, when we start in first year, only has like 90 something people in it.
Okay.
So it's pretty small. And then Eng has like what, like 600 or something stupid
Yeah,
like that.
whatever, like stupid like
So
that.
like you'd be put in groups, like your typical frosh group, but there would usually only be like one or two nurses with like a group of like 25 Eng students. And then like throughout the week, as well as like continuing through first year and even through second year, if you were still in touch with them, like you would be invited based on your group to like go to parties and stuff
Yeah.
or whatever events they were having, because Eng has a lot of like various types of group gatherings, if you want to call them, instead of parties, because it's not just a party. They do like they just have weird traditions that they do. I don't even
Strange,
think can't even think of
the
any at
most
the
the
time, but
most strange traditions like the
so
pole, like
weird.
the totem pole, like the kicking of the jacket, like so
No, like
strange. Was like a bunch of my boys in first year were like engineers, and like they had the most weird, like wearing like the jacket and just sandals and shorts during the winter. That's super weird for a
yeah.
car. But
I
yeah.
literally I had a memory today in my Snapchat of and kids in my group like kicking their jackets 4 years ago today.
Hmm.
Like, oh my gosh, that's so hilarious. But yeah, mostly it's like a lot of them join with them. It's like funny because like it's almost, I wouldn't call it like sexist, but it's very much the nurses are girls and engineers are guys.
Yeah.
Like a lot of like the chants they would say, and like
Yeah.
there's literally an event where they would hold a nurse in like a chariot, and all of the engineers would like protect the nurse,
Oh,
and
true.
like and they'd be like throwing sludge or whatever. So I don't know. I maybe it's not. Maybe I'm looking into it too much, but like a lot of the things were like, and have to do all of this shitty stuff for the nurses just to like do nothing. Like I don't know.
Well, yeah, it's like it's good to hear that from you, from like you kind of like saying that, because when I went to school at Queens and all my friends were in like engineering, like that's why I saw it too. Like all these individuals in nursing were all females, and then all these individuals in engineering were all males. But as I like kind of transitioned through the years at Queens University, I found that I kind of like not changed, but like there were like more individuals at like opposite sexes in like each of those disciplines. You know what I mean? Like found that there were
Oh
more,
yeah.
yeah, I found that there were more males and nurses. in nursing, I mean, and then there were more females in engineering, which is good. And like, I feel like with time, like as time like goes on, there's going to be kind of like a better ratio of that like male to female ratio for
Oh,
engineering and nursing for sure. But hopefully that will kind of go down to 50-50 because like you said, like it's kind of like all like females are all nurses and then like,
yeah.
you know what I mean?
And
Like,
like you can't lie with the numbers when you look at
oh,
like
you can. And that's what I'm saying.
my class in general. But like there's definitely tons of guys who have the right grades, the right personality, who want to do this job, but maybe they're swayed away from doing that because of what it looks like.
Yeah,
But
I
it's
was gonna
like,
say like I always want like not I always wanted to be, but like I thought about it for like a year. I was like, should I be a
yeah, I
nurse?
remember that.
Yeah, I was like, should I go to fast track nursing, like become a nurse? And then I guess like things didn't align, and then I kind of moved on and whatever. But onto like onto our next question, Jamie. Like, so during your time in the nursing program, can you kind of tell us about like the academics and the courses that you were taking and how well it prepared you like especially at Queen's University, how well did it prepare you in your like your placements, how well did it prepare you for like the real world in like nursing what you're doing now?
Okay, so in general, from like a grand scheme, I think that my school did a really good job. There's certain times where I'm like, you know what, I feel prepared for this, or I know what's going on because of what I learned. And it's interesting too to see other coworkers or other people who are around hired around the same time as me who went to a different school and maybe they didn't learn like complete concepts that I did, or didn't have the same type of labs that I would had the privilege to do, like not that I ever compare and worry about other people are doing, like you all work as a team anyways. But I think like specific things they did a really good job. In general, like looking from year 1 to year 4, there's a few courses here and there that are like mandatory. I think in first year you don't get to pick any. I think maybe one elective, but generally your courses are made for you. And like I think it was like you had to do philosophy, and it was like actually studying like the works of philosophy. And we were all like, why wouldn't we do like ethics or something instead of that? Like there was just specific ones you kind of question, and it was like, oh, like we already have so much other things going on, and now we have to do this other class that has like papers and everything that you weren't really focusing on at the time.
Yeah.
In hindsight, I'm sure it's been helpful, and you know, I don't think
um
it's a bad thing, but
True. And I was just gonna go off that and like what you were saying. Can you like highlight three things to the listeners that you like about the Queen's nursing program? Three things.
hmm. Um,
Or to put you on the spot there, but
yeah. I think because it's small, that's really really important and really good. Like there wasn't anyone in my class that I didn't at least know their name or had been with them in some sort of project, group, class, or like tutorial. Like I knew everyone essentially.
yeah,
Maybe not like super close. I'd say hi to everyone, but you knew everyone.
yeah,
So that made it really nice because like sometimes in labs, like the things you have to do on each other because you need to practice things, like you you like want to be with people, you know what I mean, like it can be awkward if you're like trying to really be serious and like assess someone when you're like pretending, you know what I mean, or like you have to touch
simulation
people and
patients.
like
Simulation patients are your friends, you know.
yeah, like we do have, I really, it's awkward talking to simulations sometimes because like everyone's watching, and like yeah, you've had to do things that are nerve-wracking. Like we've had to do 30-minute interviews with a stranger and everyone's behind the glass watching you, and like if you feel like you know these people well, you're gonna like take their criticism well, and you're gonna like be like, yeah, I know what you're saying is for my best interest, like you're not just being mean, like I take your advice and you're probably right, and I trust that you know aren't just out to get me, because it's hard sometimes getting like having your peers be the ones who are like grading you.
Yeah, for sure.
Like that can be, I think like that's like one thing I like about it. And second thing with some of the lab experiences we got to have, I tell this to people all the time, but in fourth year we did recess rounds. So it's basically like a simulated code blue in the hospital.
Damn, cardiac
Um,
arrest, dark shit.
yeah, so you do
Yo,
these.
so to the listeners, that's just like literally like a patient like flatlining, like no more heartbeat. So
Yeah, so like a non-responsive patient who is for full medical management, you're going to try to save their life. So we did these resus rounds with first year residents as well as med students. I think maybe a couple other disciplines would be there sometimes, like PT maybe. And you would essentially run through what you would do in the hospital. And they would change, with, oh, you can be the leader, all these things. And like, as much as it was nerve-wracking, because like the people running these were like the head emergency department doctors and trauma doctors of the hospital. They're the ones teaching
actors
you
and
these
stuff.
things. And like in the beginning, you were like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing. And then we did this for like weeks, like months. You did it every Friday for 2 hours. Sometimes it was 4-hour blocks. You just over and over again
Yeah, but did
go
it
through these
help though?
scenarios.
Did it transfer?
That's what I'm
Late?
100%,
True.
like 100%. I've had people who I've worked with, they've worked there for like years, like maybe like 4 or 5 years. And like, I've never been in like a code blue. I don't even know if I think
No,
I would know what to do.
so dark. That's not
Yeah. But then I was still in orientation. I was like a couple weeks in. I had a code blue on a patient. And as much as it was obviously an awful situation, I felt like I knew what to do because I had done these labs so much. And it's funny though, in the labs, there was like, you're never going to be in charge of this. Like, if anything, you'll just be doing compressions. Like, a more experienced nurse will do this other stuff. Well, there was no experienced nurses there at the time.
Yeah, you told me
Everyone
about
else,
this. Tell the
everyone else
viewers.
hasn't done it
Tell the
either.
viewers.
So it's almost like you should never have that assumption that there's going to be someone else who knows what to do, because you don't know that for sure, especially if you're working in like a teaching hospital. Like, a lot of us on my floor are young. There's a few like OGs who have done this a million times, but they're not always there.
Oh geez, I'm dead.
Yeah. So like right away, like I wasn't doing compressions, and someone had to man the crash cart, like get all the stuff ready, like get the pads on the person, get the medications out, like all this stuff. I knew what to do because I had done it in the lab. That was done seriously and done at full speed. It wasn't like, when you pretend you're like, oh, and now I'm gonna do this. Like, there was a monitor that would tell you if your compressions were fast enough and deep enough, and they would stop you and be like, you need to do this better, and all of this stuff. Like, we would actually put the IV in their arm. Like, nothing was just done halfway.
Couple infusions, Some epinephrine, some
Yeah,
norepinephrine.
exactly. So like, it felt really cool that I wasn't even registered yet. I was there in May, just on my temporary license.
Yeah.
And I felt like I contributed and knew what to do. And I earned the respect of a lot of my coworkers that day, because I didn't just like run out and be like, oh, what do I do now? Like, those labs really help.
True.
And I love telling people about them because
That's awesome.
they're one of my like favorite.
Yeah, so that's awesome. So the labs helped you, and obviously translated into the real world, and like what you're doing now. So for you listeners, listen to that story. That is literally why I heard.
It can happen to you.
It can
You gotta
happen
be
to you, like
prepared.
you said. Like, you don't know. The OGs might not be there, so you gotta like listen. So go to Queen's
Exactly.
University. Maybe I'm biased, but I got this friggin' sign from Queen's University because I love Queen's University. Earl Street, dog. There it is.
Oh, don't show people that. That's against the law.
Oh shoot, but whatever. I'll kind of like edit that out. But kind of like going over that. So the NCLEX. I was gonna ask you about the NCLEX.
Oh
And
yeah.
like, yeah. So like you were kind of like talking about how you weren't like you were like non-registered, and you were like kind of like doing kind of like nursing things, and basically you were doing everything what a nurse does. But tell me about the NCLEX and like studying for it, and like, yeah. So tell me about studying for the NCLEX, and tell me, what advice can you give for individuals in their fourth year going into their NCLEX?
Okay. So just to give like perspective of how much time I spent. So the NCLEX is basically the exam you write to become a registered nurse. Before that point, I was from January to March of this year, I was still a student. and I followed a full-time schedule, just working with one nurse, basically like your final placement before you are finished. And then I got my temporary license in May, and basically, like you said, I would do everything. I still had a license, but I just wasn't completely registered. So basically, I could only work on my floor, and I kind of had like more protection. Like the charge nurse was supposed to help me more if I needed it, like all this kind of stuff. So essentially, I booked my exam for July only because they were so backed up from COVID. There was months where people weren't allowed to write at all with testing centers were closed. So the earliest I could get was like July 4th, I think I wrote, or 4th or 5th. And at that point I was like, okay, I'm already going to be working now. So I need to figure out how I'm going to study and how much and make this work. But I did have the whole month of April. I didn't do anything because again, it was like fresh COVID. Nothing was happening. It's almost perfect the way things worked out that I didn't have really distractions. Everyone was at home anyways. There wasn't like big things I would have to go do. So I had the whole month of April to study. And then on top of that, on my days off, I would study as much as I could. But I really didn't feel like I was, like cramming the way you do before like final exams in university. Like that felt, I didn't really ever feel like I was doing that. Like I was very lenient with myself. Like I was like, you know what? They always tell you your 4 years prepares you well for this. I was confident in my education I had received.
Yeah.
And I basically just bought a question bank. It's called U World.
Okay.
A ton of people recommended it. I bought like the 3-month deal, or actually I got it as a graduation present.
True.
What a great graduation present.
Wait, so Jamie, like the NCLEX, just for the listeners, is it obviously it's like for registration to be like a registered nurse, but is it like multiple choice?
Yes, all multiple choice.
True, okay.
And you can't go back. Once you submit one, that's it.
Yeah.
And it's like
how many hours
the way
is
it works, it depends. So it can shut off if you get a certain percentage by a certain time, it'll just stop and you're done.
Like a certain
you don't know if you've passed or failed.
What?
Yeah, so I think
True.
it's the maximum. They actually changed it this year so that it was a shorter exam because of COVID.
Yeah.
So I honestly forget how many questions it was total, but it could shut off at 60, I think. Either way, it's a low amount and you know that amount. So when you're going, you're like submitting that 60th question, like, if I don't shut off, does that mean that I failed? Right? Because you're gonna be like, oh, it should have shut off.
True.
So I actually did all of the questions. Mine didn't shut off.
Oh, okay.
So that stressed me out a lot because I left. I had not even a clue. I was like, I could have totally failed. I don't know. It doesn't tell you until days later. But if I would have shut off early, I would have been like, oh, I nailed it. I passed. So I kind of left not knowing. And then I was, you go through that thought process. You're like, oh my God, did I not study enough? Was I not prepared?
Yeah.
You feel like you know the answer to things, but like they don't really make them obvious.
Yeah, you kind of like self-doubt yourself because I
100%.
I do remember because you like went out the night and you were just like sending, and then you wake up the next morning at 6 a.m. You're like, Jordy, I passed. I'm like, dude, that's sick. I was so happy for you. But yeah, like I didn't know you were going through that. But with that being said, I'm so proud of you for going through it, like passing, and like you're like a full-fledged nurse now, full time.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, so you just like practice that question bank, right?
Yeah, it basically simulated the exact NCLEX. Well, give or take like the shut off measures and everything.
Yeah.
It would go through all the body systems. Then there'd be like pharmacology, nursing specific, like things that are about like what you're able to do, delegating, what you can do through your scope. Like it would break it all down. And I think it was really good. It wasn't cheap. Like it was a couple $100 for that, but everyone recommends it, and it worked for me. I did also have like a couple books that are like the classic ones you see at the bookstore that are like NCLEX review, like.
It help?
But I only used that in April, and I feel like I didn't need to do that. Like when I was just writing out notes.
Yeah.
And like I don't know how actually useful that was. But they're still good to have, I guess.
True.
Going forward.
That's awesome. So the NCLEX is over. You're transitioning to be like a full nurse. So can you tell me, or tell the viewers as well, what nursing are you doing right now? Like, what field of medicine are you doing? Like, are you in cardiac? Are you in like general medicine, oncology? Like, what are you in currently right now? And like, yeah.
Yeah. So I work in internal medicine. Um, it's funny because I was thinking about this earlier about talking about this, and I was like, to different people, this could be seen as a great thing or the worst thing ever. So like I think for instance, like doctors, if you were to talk to them and be like, oh, what area are you specializing in, like residents, and they would be like, oh, internal medicine, like that's a really cool one, like that's like super cool.
Yeah.
But in the nursing world, it's not like that at all. Like people literally refer to internal medicine as like the ghettos of nursing, like med
Dead.
surge is like, yeah, like
Dude, I didn't know that. I didn't know
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah, because it's not really the most sought after, easiest place to be.
True.
So, internal medicine, you will literally get any type of patient. We There's no limit of what you can have. Whenever some people who aren't involved in the medicine world, like they don't really know what that means. If you're to say, "Oh, I work in medicine," they'd be like, "Well, yeah, obviously." But I'm like, no, internal medicine. I think of anyone who's basically not a surgery and they're not specific to the other areas that you talked about, like cardiac, oncology. We still have lots of patients who are cancer patients, though. But if they have other things going on
Yeah.
that internal medicine covers, they're usually consulted to us and we take care of them until they're strictly just oncology.
True.
So, like all ages, we have people, I've had patients who's younger than me, up to like obviously like 100-year-old patients. And some of them are fully with it, and some of them are like completely fully like have dementia, Alzheimer's. Like we
Yeah.
have all types of behaviors, all types of disease, like everything you can really imagine. We do have telemetry, so we take cardiac patients as well. We do peritoneal dialysis, um, and we're the most acute medicine floor at KGH. So we send a lot of people to ICU. We receive a lot of people from ICU when they're full. It's not uncommon to have like code 99, which is like a critical event that's not a code blue.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like consulting with the critical care nurses a lot, like the race team they are called. It's very high pace, which is like the best for me right now. Like I learn so much every time I'm there.
Yeah, for sure.
Um,
Keeps you busy,
but
you
like I
know?
said, oh, it's so busy. Like
Yeah, keeps you busy.
it's yeah. But for right now, like I like it. Like it's
That's awesome. That's awesome, Jamie. So, with your experience in general medicine or like internal medicine, do you see yourself like kind of like transitioning into another field of medicine, like intensive care, cardiac, like oncology, like I guess general surgery is within that too as well. But like, do you have any like idea of like what you want to like kind of like focus on, or like the like what's the next step?
mhm.
What's the next step you want to take?
So I think my next area that I want to try would be emerge.
Okay.
Um, I thought a lot about ICU
That's
for
tough.
like a long
Tough.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just don't know yet if that's like really for me. I just maybe I don't even know enough about it. Um, and like I was gonna do a critical care course this past winter, just didn't end up working out. And that would have helped me get to that point. I think emerge is more synonymous with internal medicine in terms of it being like crazy. ICU is like one to one. You're
What?
managing a lot of like, like drips, a lot more things that are just specific to one patient. Whereas like emerge, it's more like teamwork. It's crazy. Everyone's working together. You see a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, like I
I
was
think that would be my next step.
yeah, I was just gonna say like for Emerge, I feel like it's probably like so many different like kind of like the emissions are probably so like it varies like all these conditions between these patients who come to emergency like it'd probably be so good to kind of contribute to like your nursing experience, you know what I mean, like you
Yeah,
said, like there's gonna be so many different like events, right? So I feel like that would be a great
exactly.
yeah, it'll be a great experience for you, and hopefully you get to that because you're a fast learner, you're smart, and talent.
Thanks.
That's awesome.
I recently too have been looking into doing my master's. Um,
True.
uh, it's I feel like again because of the whole COVID thing and nothing else is going on, and the fact that it's harder. I feel like maybe it's just me, but it's harder to get back into school when you've been out of the mode of school for a while. Like you're
Yeah.
not used to doing it. But
Yeah.
I still like my roommate is in her master's and I see how busy she is, so I respect the grind. Like it's a lot, but I kind of miss like scheduling of it and like always having something to do. Like and the area, like I know what I want to do research in and I know who I want to work with. Like all of it is based on doing it at Queen's. And I feel like sooner is better than later and do it while the world's still kind of shut down
Yo.
because what
Yeah.
else do you have to do, right?
Yeah, like Jamie, like what you just said right there, like I'm 25 years old and I want to do like a master's too. So I'm applying this year and it's like so far gone. Like I should have applied so many years ago, like after I like I guess finished my bachelor's. But you should apply because I'm applying right now to kind of like master's in health policy. But like you said,
Ooh,
like
nice.
the sooner or later, right? Like I'd rather have it sooner. So I wish I applied a long time ago because as soon as you
Yeah,
kind of
but
yeah, as soon as you leave like leave university, your brain's not there anymore. Like it's not there.
yeah, it's crazy. Like I can't even say that it's been like a blink of time that I haven't like I still have all of my school stuff on my computer. Like it's not even like I've officially moved on. Like it's still there.
Yeah.
And I still consider myself sometimes. I'm like I feel like a bit of imposter syndrome. I don't know if you know like what I mean. Like it's kind of weird to me that I'm like not a student anymore.
Yeah.
But when I think about it, like I have so much time. Like there's so much time to do things. Like I'm working. I'm done my stuff. I'm working. I'm only 22. Like I have so much time to do like whatever I
I love
want.
that.
Really,
I love
I'm
that.
not really in a rush. Like sometimes I'm like, oh, like I don't love my internal medicine. Like I need to switch it up. But then I'm like, I'm okay. You can just be okay with what you're doing. Like you
Yeah,
don't always
you're
have to
chilling. You're
have this
chilling.
urgency to do stuff. Like it's only been 8 months, but I also think I'm like, holy god, 8 months went by like nothing. Like I didn't. You just look back one day and it's like, holy, that's
It's
been a long time.
it's crazy. It's crazy how fast like time goes by. Like
Yeah,
I was at Mount Sinai. I guess I started in August, but it's been 17 weeks starting tomorrow. But that's so quick. Like I didn't even think it was gonna be 17 weeks. But just like looking back, and I was gonna like talk about this too, like with you. And I thought it was so funny. But when you did your rotation when you were like a student on the cardiac floor, and I worked there for clinical research, that was
yeah,
so hilarious. And like it just seems so long ago, but like it's just like such good memories, and like it just seems so
yeah.
long ago. You know what I mean? But I want you to go back to cardiac one day.
I'm kind of scarred for being a student there.
Oh
Wasn't the
yeah,
greatest
true, true.
experience.
Dark times, dark stories. I remember that.
Yeah.
Um, Jamie, let's like I don't know, let's line up the mood and tell me about your experience at Queens. Kind of like talking about, um, I guess like student life. Tell me about student life. Yeah, tell me about student life and tell me about like party life. I guess.
So I think in general, I don't know. I was weirdly thinking about this the other day, and like
You missed me.
when
That's why.
someone's in like, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
you missed me in
exactly.
Mitchell. That's why.
Um, yeah, honestly, talking to you guys last night was really great.
Yeah.
That was really great. Um, I think that I don't really have any regrets in terms of looking back and being like, I spent too much time doing school. You know what I mean? I think if not to be like, oh, this program is so hard, but every program at the university level is hard. Like, there's nothing that you pick that it's not going to be. It's not going to be easy.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like I had a really good social balance as well, and I worked throughout university too. Like, I had a job the whole time.
With who?
Um, at the Arc
Yeah.
with Jordan,
Yeah. We worked at the
and
Arc together.
like it's totally doable. Like you don't have to completely destroy yourself
Yeah.
studying all the time.
I agree.
And I didn't come into this being some sort of genius who doesn't have to try. Like that's not what I'm saying either. Like I don't know if my grades were the only reason I got in, like, there's a lot of things that come into being accepted, like PSC, what else you've been involved in. Like,
Yeah.
it's not like it was just a natural thing. Like, I still did work, but I made time to see people. I did fun things. I went on trips. Not to say that you have to go on vacation because it's a lot of money,
It
but I
is.
went away on reading week every year. Like, I definitely had my share of nights out and
With the
could still
boys.
live to tell a story.
With the boys.
Yeah, like, it's doable if you just know, like, there's 24 hours in a day.
Yeah.
You prioritize what you have to, but you don't need to, like, push people out and be like, oh, I'm too busy. Because I knew people like that, and that could be a miserable way to do it if you won't even come to, like, the social events. Like, we had nursing stuff all the time. Like, there's a really great council who would set stuff up. I'd say I probably wasn't the best at going to those things, but it was mostly because I had like, I worked usually on the weekends when these things would be. I spent a lot of my weekends working, but still, like, doing stuff at night when I could. I made time to go home when I could. Like, luckily I have parents who would come visit me as well. When my sister went here, she was here for my first and second year, and they would come up here all the time. So I was able to see them a lot. But yeah, I would say I didn't feel like I was spent too much time being studious. I got everything done. I got good enough grades to get through. C's do get degrees. No one in nursing cares what your average was. I'm just gonna say that.
Say it
You
again. Say it
pass your
again.
NCLEX.
Say it again. Say it again.
Say it again. No one in nursing cares what you get. So it doesn't make a difference to your job.
Wait,
It
so
it doesn't.
wait, so with that being said, Jamie, so with masters, what's like kind of the
That
admission
is when it comes.
requirements? Yeah, that's the only thing, right?
So yeah, if you do want to pursue masters, that's when it matters. And depending on the school, some of them will do your GPA as like an overall, but some of them will do them as core courses, and that kind of depends on the school which core courses they're looking at. But in general, it's usually like a B or a B plus overall average to get accepted into the
GPA,
master's.
cumulative, everyone.
Yeah, so it's like a 3.0 is a B, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, on a queen scale, I guess, because Queens
Yeah,
everyone
Queen
is
scale is a bit different.
yeah, Queens everyone's like 4.3 because we're like unique, I guess, because we think we're cool, but everyone else is like 4.0. Yeah.
I also want to say I don't know that they would be super strict on the GPA. I think if you're coming forward, you have someone who is willing to work with you, you have good ideas, and you're close. Like, you have people who can, speak on you if you have references that, knew you in undergrad.
Sure.
That's one thing that I think looking back, I didn't know in undergrad that I would ever want to do a master's. But I wish that I got to know some of my professors more and, like, put myself out there more. Was never ever one to go after the, like, lecture to ask a question, or like even like after a test and people want to see what they got wrong. Never did that. I was like, no, don't care, it's over. If I don't know it, I don't know it. Like, I would never have gone to meet a prof. I don't think
True.
ever,
So
except maybe to, like, ask a question before an assignment because I didn't get it. Like,
so do you regret that then? Do you wish you cut like
yeah, because, like, I feel like reaching out for references now, they're not going to know me very well. Like, I'll have to, like, recall on their memory and be like, I was in this
yeah,
class, and, like,
for
you
sure.
know,
And like with that being said too, like Jamie about like networking, in my like fifth year. So I did like 5 years at Queen's University, but in the fifth year, I took the opportunity to kind of like suck up to like the professors. So whenever I had to like apply for a job or apply for masters, I sucked up to those individuals who liked me
mm,
at least, and then like got those good references. But with that being said, to like all the individuals who are like listening to this, hopefully, but just remember to like network during university and don't like
yeah,
network after university, because like all those individuals or all the professors and all your employers will help you with finding a job at the end of the day, right? So
yeah,
yeah,
100%.
I totally agree with that. um
Yeah,
so Jamie, you and I lived together, and that was
yep,
sick. That was so sick. We lived with one of our boys, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
Joseph.
And Joseph, and I was just gonna say, like, that was super fun. We still maintained our kind of like our professionalism and like did what we needed to do. And what I wanted to say to everyone is that literally what Jamie kind of like touched based like upon like earlier is that like you just have to prioritize like what you need to do. So like if you want to party, but like make sure you do like what you need to do like earlier in the week and like make sure you do those things. Jamie was like a
Hmm.
great example of like a great example of that. She worked super hard, did all her things like earlier in the week, and then was able to send with the boys, and that was sick. But like I was like that's like kind of like the thing moving forward as well because kind of like a thing I need to tell you guys is that like I used to be so terrible at like prioritizing things and like I learned I guess during my professional career to prioritize things and like learn to be able to like manage things and balance things. So like that's one thing I learned after university and like that's why I wish I was like able to kind of like contribute or like was able to do during university. But for like
Hmm.
example, Jamie did a great job. So listen to her.
Thanks. And it's easy to look at everyone around you and assume because they look like they're having so much fun that they don't have their shit together, and you'd be like, oh, like they're clearly fine. Like you can't base anything on what other people do. You can't base their study habits on what you should be doing. I remember I used to be so worried in like first year because there would be people going to the library at like 6 in the morning, and
True.
I'm not a morning person. Like I'm not gonna get up that early. Like no
Yeah.
thanks unless I have to. And I'd be like, oh my god, like they're studying way more than me. I'm not I'm not keeping up with this. Like, is that what I'm supposed to be doing? Like
Yeah.
everyone is so different. You
You
can't
nailed it.
base it all at
You nailed it.
all what other people are doing. And it took me a long time to do that because like especially in a program like mine, it's kind of competitive. It's not like I wouldn't say that people are working against each other in the ways that they do in like lifestyle when they're fighting to get into like med school. Like
Life size.
we
Dirt.
didn't have that type of competitiveness. Everyone helped each other out a lot, but like they were still very much like aware of what you were doing, what you
Yeah, of
got. Like talking about
course.
grades was like a common culture that I didn't like being a part of. Like if anything, I would just joke off and be like, "Oh, I probably got the lowest grade." Like I kind of gave myself that persona as a joke because like there's nothing worse than someone who's like, "I'm so smart." You know what I mean? Like it's funny to just be that person who seems like they slack off, but like I still graduated. I still, like I made it through
Yeah, you're successful. You're like you're
from
doing
not
well.
having to be like doing the most, You
Yeah.
don't have to do the most.
Yeah.
Don't
You don't have
care. You
to do
can't
the
care what other people
most.
do.
Yeah, you don't have to do the most, but you can overachieve. But to the individuals, and like I've experienced it, to the people who like say like I didn't do well, but then end up getting like a 95, please don't do that. To like people who are listening to this, don't be that person. Like that's
Well,
like it's just so like demoralizing to like the other person's like you like I knew this person was smart and they're like I did so bad. It's like no, you literally obviously did well. So why are you saying this? So it's just like
yeah.
if you're going into university, do not be that person. Like,
Some people who do that, they're just insecure and they
yeah, of
need
course.
someone else's energy to boost them back up.
Yeah, for
Like
sure.
it's so easy just as you like get older to
Yeah,
like see these people and
yeah,
just like laugh to yourself and you're like,
yeah.
man, like I know what you're doing. It's kind of sad.
It's dark.
I'll just
Dark.
I'll like it's fine with me, but it doesn't impact me at all if you're
Yeah.
gonna try to
And
bring me down.
yeah, and I was just gonna say, Jamie, like you said, everyone's kind of like different. Like you said, like, oh, I was kind of struggling with the fact that people are going to like the library at 6 a.m. But like everyone's different, and I want to say that too, and to kind of like reinforce what Jamie is saying that is that like everyone's different. Like everyone can kind of study as much as they want, but like it depends on like who you are as a person and like how you learn. You can either learn
Mm-hmm.
like I don't know like and study like how long you like want to learn like study for, but like everyone's like different in how like they do it. So do not like model yourself off of like someone else or who's like successful. Like
Oh yeah.
finds like yeah like finds like how you study well and like take that and then like continue that throughout university. Like it didn't take me until maybe like second or third year to be able to do that.
Yeah. Especially like if you're studying with people. Like I personally was someone I didn't like doing that at the beginning. I lived with everyone in my house in second year was almost everyone was in my program. And everyone's different, but they always before like the night before things, they wanted to review together. And like they would be like chapters ahead of me at this point, which is, again, that would stress me out. But me now wouldn't care. But at that point, I was like, no, guys, like, I don't want to study with you yet. And it would cause problems. And it's like, you just gotta let people do their thing. And like, if someone asks you to study with them and they use cue cards and cue cards don't work for you, don't do that then.
Yeah.
Like, you're not gonna hurt their feelings if you say it's coming down to me studying well or not.
Yeah.
It can be a huge social thing, like studying as well, that I found. Especially if like in a program like mine where everyone's like, we all have the same classes, we have the same schedules. You know everyone, you don't get away from them. And it can cause problems if it's like frustrating you, or they're being like, oh, you're only on this chapter, like,
Yeah.
it's tomorrow, like just like that kind of talk.
I swear to God,
So annoying.
there's always that one person like out
Yeah.
of just like, hey, are
Like,
you not on that
yo.
chapter yet? I was just like, bruh, I was out like sending beers with boys. Like,
Yeah, like living my life, you don't get to care. I get to care. Sorry. Right?
oops. But like I was just gonna say, like, to like all the listeners is like, I didn't do this at all, but I kind of like slacked off in first year. But like in first year, like find that groove and find like how you study super well. When you transition from like high school to university, it's like it's a huge step. Like you don't understand like
Oh
how
yeah.
fast paced it truly is, and like how studying kind of like helps you. So like I did shit like in first year, and then kind of like did better in like the following years. But with all like to all the listeners, like find the way you can study well, and then take that and like adapt that to your following years, because it's going to like help like a lot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
First year, it like feels like a blocked memory from my, like, I don't know, I just have a terrible memory in general, but I just know it was a huge jump.
It
I didn't
is.
even realize it. You just like adjust as you go, but you don't, unless you're, maybe this is just my experience, I didn't get like really good grades. Like, it
Me
takes
too.
time.
I agree.
When you get that first assignment back, you're like, oh, I have
Yeah,
to do all of that.
I
I have to
agree.
actually read the rubric.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
the rubric, I agree. And like I remember being told by like other individuals like expect your marks to drop by like 20 to like 30% in first year, or like 15 or 20 or something like that. And
Mm-hmm.
like I was like, no effing way. Like I had like a 90 average, like I'm gonna like kill it. And then I like literally saw my marks. I'm like, damn, like Jordan, like what
They
the
didn't hold back.
yeah, I was like, what are you doing, bro? Like I was just like, it's
I
dark. But
know.
like with that being said, to like everyone else like going to university, dude, like do your thing, like study hard, party hard, but like study hard.
Exactly. You
Yeah.
need that balance, or else you'll have a miserable time,
Yeah.
especially in COVID. I know it's like hard. You can't like find your bubble, do stuff for yourself and for your friends, because university is only 4 years of your life. It's like a
Yeah,
blink in time. Literally a blink in time.
it is.
It's not your whole life.
Jamie,
You know what?
what?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Sorry. I was just gonna ask you, like, what are three things you love about your job and like nursing? Like, what do you love about like the three things you love about nursing? Like, I know you like talked about how like I was like, yo, what are the influences to kind of like influence you to do those to do nursing? But you didn't know, you know what I mean? You kind of like
Mhm.
didn't have like
Yeah.
your idea, but like now since you're in the field of nursing, what are the three things that like like not inspire you, but like that like what do you love about it?
Um, they're actually, as much as I feel like I've only talked about the bad parts of it, obviously I'm still in it for a reason. I've never been one to just like stick in a situation I don't like. Like, I will, if I hate the job, I'll quit. Like, that's it. Life's too short for that business.
I respect
Um, but I really like the personable part of it. So that's what also kept me away from ICU, I think, because you don't always get to like interact with people.
because they're not okay.
Um, Not everyone you get is going to be, like a super lovely 70-year-old woman who's like really cute and calls you hun. Like, that's not everyone, but it's,
Sorry to interrupt you, Jamie. I was just gonna say, like, basically what Jamie's saying is like in ICU, these people are like these people are like mechanically ventilated, so like you're not gonna be able to talk to them. All like you're gonna be able
mm-hmm.
to like only talk to like their kind of family members, because they're kind of like in critical like condition. So like Jamie
Yeah.
said, like within like what she's working on like right now on like what her floor is and like general medicine, she's like able to like talk to those individuals, but in ICU you can't really like
Yeah, exactly. So like I feel like I've grown so much, especially since like I was younger, like before I came to school even, and just like talking to people more. I'd say I was probably more on the shy side, but I love being able to interact with people every day. You meet new people every day. You get to teach people. Like some people, it's hard to remember sometimes have like no medical knowledge. Like they don't even know why they take all the 40 medications they're on. They have no idea. Like they don't know.
yo, I'm
So you're
taking a stand.
constantly,
Yo, I'm taking a stand. Why am I taking a stand? Like,
yeah,
can you tell
they
me?
they have no idea. Like you're constantly educating. Like when you're discharging people, you like sit down with them and sit on their bed, talk about it. You get to hear about their life, and like it's sometimes you have people for weeks, or there's people who are awaiting long-term care who are there for literally months. So you kind of get that type of rapport with people, and like it's sometimes for some who aren't in hospital much, it's like a scary experience, and you're just like doing your best to make it a little less scary for them by just like being a normal, nice person. Usually they need that, like otherwise they're like, what else do I do all day? Especially they can't have visitors. They don't have visitors every other day.
Yeah,
And I've only been working in COVID when there's been no visitors, so I'm not I'm not used to when there is visitors. I'm like, oh, this is weird having
sure.
family there. So I really like that part of it. Um, Another part is like again, like I talked about before, it's like you're literally learning all the time. Like I feel like I have a pretty good knowledge base of like the things we see a lot, but because it's internal medicine and you get all of the weird like niche stuff, like people come with diseases and infections and whatever that I've never even heard of.
Septic shock.
Well, that's a common one.
Yeah.
But like, you know what I mean? You're always learning. You're like looking up to people who've worked there for a long time to like help you with things. And because you've earned their respect, it's not a scary thing anymore to ask for help because they know like, you know what you're doing. This is something that's not that common. I'd love to help you with this. Like usually at the beginning it was like scary to ask older nurses because they'd be like, oh my God, you're just an idiot. Like, how do you not know that? It's
Sure.
not really that way anymore. But yeah, you are always learning, and I feel like there's an opportunity. There's always something you can do to further your education in this field. Like with a master's, you can become specialized in something. You could be an educator. Like you do anything.
Yeah.
And like I personally want to travel with my job. So like you can be put on contracts in like remote areas of like Canada, and you get paid really well, and they give you like living, like a place to live. They give you allowances just to work in these short-term contracts when they're super short-staffed up in like Northern Ontario or like even Northern Territories. Um, you're always needed. Like you can be hired anywhere really, and even just getting after having 1 year of experience, like that's valuable in itself. I got hired with no experience, and that's not that uncommon. A lot of people take on new grads to help train them in that area and hopefully cultivate a good nurse that they can hold on to for a while.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And then I do have one more thing that I like about my job,
Yeah.
is that we get to work. We're like the core of the team, not to be like pumping our own tires, but because we're with the patient the most, like all day long,
Yeah.
everyone in the team, so it's interdisciplinary or multidisciplinary care, the residents, the attendings, physiotherapy, occupational therapy,
OT.
spiritual health,
Yeah.
respiratory,
Social worker,
everyone.
all that shit.
You get to work with all of these different disciplines, and a lot of the times they're coming to you to get to know the patient. Like they're like, oh, well, how are they today? Do you have concerns? And like everything that you gather that you've had, you feel like you're heard, and they take what you say seriously most of the time. Sometimes, depending on the resident, you have to fight a little bit more to get what you think you need.
Yeah.
But like, it's getting to work with all these different people, and you feel like what you're saying is important because it usually is like you're advocating for your patient. Sometimes you disagree, or it just takes a little bit more working with people. and really discussing things with the doctors. I feel like people don't realize that as much. Like they like what we say and like suggest and what we bring up is used. Like it's not always the one-sided decision to do things. Um, based on like what you've seen them do like in the day, they'll be like, oh, like I'm thinking we should maybe start this. Like the blood pressure is doing this. Like, and they'll be like, oh, what do you think? And like they could say, oh, well, why don't we give them fluids? And then I would come back and be like, well, what's their volume status like? Like, are we going to overload them? Like, you have these conversations, and it's not just one-sided, and you feel like you're contributing. And for someone who's still really new to like actually know what's going on, it's really cool, you know? So yeah,
Yo,
I like that part.
Jamie was like, I was just gonna say too, like, anyone who has like any like perceptions of nurses like in like a negative way, no, like nurses do so much for the patient. I remember when I was at Kingston and I was like doing some clinical research there, but like you said, like it's so multidisciplinary where like even research go toward like they reach like the nurses and ask what's going on, and like you guys know the nurses so I mean you guys know like the patients so well that individuals of any like discipline are able to like go like towards you guys and ask about them. And like I
Mm-hmm.
was just gonna say that you guys are like the most versatile in terms of like kind of like dealing with the patient, being able to like treat the patient, and just like you guys are taken for granted. That's what I'm saying. Like nurses in general for the society are taken for granted. And I just want to like make sure that everyone knows that like nurses do so much for like your family, your friends, and whoever, like the strangers. And like they need to be respected, and they work so hard, and like they do everything that needs to be done to make sure they're okay. Residents and doctors, sure, they make decisions and whatever, but the nurses are there to maintain that like health status and like make sure they're okay. So to anyone who like kind of like talk shit about nurses, man, like get off your rocker because they do so much for like for your family and friends. And like I just like want that respect for the nurses, man. But I was thinking like I just want to add on to like what Jamie was saying is like they're so multidisciplinary where like anyone can go to them and ask them like what's going on with like the patient. They like know what's going on. And like for Jamie, she has so many years left to kind of like learn about everything about like every medicine field. So I'm like super happy with Jamie, super proud of her. She's like one of my best friends. But yeah, yeah, man. I'm super sad you're not drinking with me tonight, but on
You
this
know, I'm getting old. I had too much
old
wine last night.
5.
I know, but I can't drink the way I used to, you know?
Yeah, the
Catching up
dark
to me.
day. Dude, what do you mean? The dark days are 22. I'm 25. I'm still drinking like
Well, I was in bed by 12:30 and like I've been feeling like crap all day.
true. Jamie, so Queen's University, Kingston, Ontario. So tell the viewers or the listeners, what was your tell me the 3 bars you used to go through the most during like your I like yo like listeners. I know this is not like professional whatever like whatever, but like this is kind of like for you to know like I guess going to into university and like whatever to expect and like what to expect I guess. So yeah, what are the 3 bars? Like just list them off.
Well, I think obviously answer is obvious where I went the most throughout consistently throughout the whole time would be the brass.
Yeah, I respect
Um,
that.
started going there before I was even old enough. Don't tell anyone that.
I mean, you're like
I'll slip away.
20 years on the podcast now, so
um, it's just like I feel like it was just destined to be that way. My
yeah.
sister always went there. I knew about it before I even started going there. You know, she went there with her team all the time, and it was like just the place to go. It was always people I knew who went there. I feel like there was groups, like certain groups went to certain places, and like you usually knew somebody around.
Totally
There's
agree.
other people who like consistently went to somewhere else, and that was just their group.
I
Um,
I agree. I agree.
yeah, but I feel like in my like first year and maybe even a little bit into my second year, ale was still really big, like big ale.
Yeah,
I remember when they used to call it that.
yeah.
That was I think mostly my first year we would go there sometimes, like a Saturday night, you know, go to Big Ale. Um, but I didn't really find I went to canteen that much. It was mostly just
Just say the
hanging
S
out.
word. Say the S word.
What?
Stages!
Stages?
Dude, during my time like being friends with you, we used to go to stages all the time. It's hilarious.
Yeah, we did. So I would say like stages is where you went when you like are at the point where you're not going to remember going to stages, and like
For
I could
you,
never go there.
for
Only
you to
yeah,
remember.
I
I
could
like
never
literally remembered every time I was at stages.
I could never yeah. I'm convinced that
I
I
took care of
have
you.
like brain damage now because I can block out so easily.
Yeah.
Like it's bad, but we would go to stages a decent amount. I would say actually more than I'd like to admit. I think
Yo,
getting into like
Trinity.
fourth year,
Trinity.
third or
Trinity.
fourth year. I actually didn't go there that much.
You
So
actually didn't. You actually didn't.
I went like twice
Yeah.
to Dollar Beers, and that was a new thing. So
Dollar Piners, everyone. Dollar
before that though was Brooklyn. I used to go to Brooklyn a lot because that was where the original
Brooklyn was sick. Brooklyn was sick.
mod was.
Yeah.
And
Brooklyn was
I
actually awesome.
went to trivia there usually on Sunday nights.
Alibi, I thought.
No, they have it at Alibi, but they used to have it at Brooklyn on Sundays.
Oh, true.
Yeah, so we would
Um,
do that a lot.
Jamie, I was just gonna ask you, like, tell me about your experiences about the art, kind of like the gym at Queen's University. How'd you find it? What do you think?
I love the art. Uh, as the time went on, I didn't love working there anymore. I think I just overdid my stay in a way. Like I was just there for too long, and I was like, this is the same old. Things changed a lot. Like new management would come in and leave, and like it just changed a lot. We completely changed. So we used to work at the counter, and then we switched from doing the counter where we would rent out equipment. Like our role
You,
completely changed.
you, not we.
Yeah, sorry, me, not you. In general, it's like a
I was an
gym.
OG.
Yeah, yeah,
I
you
was
were.
an
You
OG.
were there longer than me. Um, I I've always like been active and worked out. I started working out probably in like I always played sports in high school. I think I started like going to the gym in like grade
Yo,
10.
yo, Jamie, Knox, brother. Knox, brother.
Yeah,
Knox.
fit lifestyle. Um, so I pretty much I wasn't like like sometimes girls like are like scared to like first start going to the gym because it's just
For
like it's
sure.
mainly like
Yeah.
guy dominated place. I think in first year I mainly I did mainly go to like the women's section.
Marion Ross, guys.
Um,
Marion Ross. Anyone
yeah,
who's going to
I
Queen.
went there a lot. But I also would like go down because I think I was like I would do like squats and stuff by then. But then a huge impact was having my sister around. So my sister
Yeah.
played for hockey team, so she always was in like the lifting zone, and I would work out with her a lot, which like boosted my confidence to like go to any area I wanted to use because like people would see me with her in there, and I knew what I was doing. She would like we would do stuff together, and it just like made me more comfortable in the gym in general. And like after that, I pretty much would work out wherever I wanted. That's how it's supposed to be. And then it was in third year I started going to CrossFit, and then I didn't really work out at the Arc anymore. And I'm still working out there. It's going
Yeah.
great.
I was just gonna say, Jamie, that the arc's like super amazing. They do have Marion Ross is like the female section, and they have expanded it. So to anyone who's
Oh, that's right.
yeah, they have like to anyone who's going to Queen's University, they have expanded like the female gym only within the arc and super massive, like not super massive, but like massive, like
Big
plenty of
enough, yeah.
yeah, they're big enough and plenty of equipment, but like so with Jamie saying, but like kind of talking about like CrossFit, I this summer I took up CrossFit too, and I went to Queen's CrossFit. Guys, I'm telling you, like anyone who goes to Queen's University and like is like interested in like CrossFit, go to like where James going, like Queen's Street CrossFit. It was sick, like it was insane. I loved it. Like I
Yeah, remember that day you're doing rope climbs when you
yeah, that
came
was
with me?
dude. That was when I was fit. I'm not fit anymore.
Sorry, the internet's kind of just slow for a sec. I
Wait,
don't know what's
hold on.
going on.
Hold on.
I,
All right.
I think my internet's fine.
Okay, so Jam. So Yeah, so I call it
Yeah.
Jam. I call it Jamie Jam for shortcut, I guess. But I just want to thank Jam Jamie so much for coming on to the podcast today as the first episode, and literally, she's one of my best friends. Super grateful for her, and she's doing amazing. So listen to this podcast. But I just want to tell you guys that I hope you guys listen to this podcast and realize how much is coming from Jamie, and that you can learn so much from other individuals in life. And there's gonna be so many individuals on this podcast that can teach you so much, and hopefully Jamie and myself can teach you kind of things about like things that can like help you achieve success. But I just want to end off with Jamie asking her a couple questions. So Jamie, what are your top 3 artists that you're listening to right now during COVID, since COVID started?
Oh, well, that's actually kind of a tricky question. I feel like there's no like top three. I've been really into like I always have been, but I've been really listening to like the oldies a lot.
Who?
Um, Oldies like old like
2000s.
70s, 80s, like the
Oh, the oldies. I like that. I like that.
pardon.
I love the oldies.
I'm trying to look at my Spotify here. Yeah. Um, yeah, I have a lot of that. I'm trying to even think. I don't even know. Like, I guess a little bit of JB, a little bit of Justin Bieber there.
Oh,
Uh, Milky Chance.
oh, Drake.
Uh, Not really.
Oh,
Maybe
Juice
like
WRLD.
one or two in there. Yeah, Juice WRLD's always good.
Yo, Juice WRLD's the fucking goat.
Yeah, genre. Like I will listen to anything if it just has like a good vibe, you know, like I love like I miss going to see like plays. Like I love like Broadway music
True.
and I love like rock and roll and
True.
I love like pop and country. I love all
Mod.
music.
You miss Mod
I'm
too.
not Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I couldn't narrow it down if you asked. I love all types.
Yeah. Um,
Always have.
I was gonna ask you what kind of like TV shows or movies. Well, like yeah, TV shows that you're, like kind of binge watching or like what are you watching right now on like Netflix or like whatever you're watching it on?
Well, this honestly sounds like lame, and I'm trying to sound like I'm so cool, but I don't watch TV that much. Um, a lot of my time lately has been spent with my dog because she is very young and needs a lot of like watching a lot of the time.
God damn it. Yo, I
Um,
forgot to
I
talk
think
about your dog. Like, yo, tell the listeners about your dog.
yeah.
So like guys, so listen. So Jamie got a dog recently.
Uh,
Yo, she's a cutie. Stevie, tell them about it. Like tell them
she
about the
is.
experience.
I should have brought her on. I should have brought her on.
Tell them about the experience.
Well, I got okay. So I pretty much decided to get her. I always wanted a dog, obviously. But like, you know, you always are like, oh, like maybe now's not a good time, or like I feel like there's gonna be a better time. But like in my way of thinking, I was like, there's probably no better time than right now. Like, why not right now? You know, like I was like, this seems like a good idea. Why not? And so I got her like a month ago now almost, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Um, I got in contact with someone like through the grapevine of connect.
Dark. Oh no.
What happened? Is it back?
We're good. We're good. Yeah, just continue. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Uh, yeah. So yeah, I got connected with someone, got put on the list, and they were like, "Yep, there's girls left. You can have this one. Perfect." So I got her. Um, I obviously rely a lot on like my roommate and my other friend Addie to help me a lot with it because like, I do it full time.
Addy.
But
Addy.
yeah, I
Tell
know
them
she's very helpful. But
yeah, tell them the
the
breed.
main
Tell them the breed.
Oh yeah, it's she's a golden retriever,
Yeah.
and she's now 3 months old. She's getting big. She's almost too heavy. Well, she's not too heavy to pick up, but it's heavy enough. She's a two-hander now. She's
Andrew.
super high energy. Pardon? Two-hander.
Right?
Yeah, she's a lot. She keeps me like on my toes. She is a huge like getting a dog. I don't think people know like unless you are a dog owner like how much work it is and like you have to be really consistent and like dedicated. You have to kind of change your whole life because you now work on that dog's terms, like what they need, and because like you have to give them everything they need. It's kind of like a
Yeah.
baby, like
Yeah.
they need all their needs met. Um, so the way my schedule works is I work 4 shifts, 4 12-hour shifts, and then I have 5 days off. So in those 5 days, which is like kind of perfect, I can be with her all the time, but it's just in those 4 shifts that I usually have to figure something out. I do have a dog walker as well that comes in when I need
Oh,
her,
oh,
um, as well as and Addie. Does her master's, but she also works like 4 jobs, so that's a lot to coordinate as well. It's mostly for when she's really young. Like she can sleep through the night without having to go outside already, which is like a really, really great thing for me. Like not having
yeah.
to get up,
Well,
especially if I have to work the next day.
yeah, Jamie, so like from like what I've seen like from her Snapchats, like like from her like being so obedient to you telling like stay and like then you like kind of back up and be like, yo, come and then like you like train her super well and like super impressed with like what you've
Mm.
had like the progress you've had with Stevie so far. So I'm like super impressed.
Yeah, like that's the thing. It's like certain things just take consistency, and like you're like, oh my god, like they're just not getting it. Like, but it's not until you look back and you're like, oh, like she doesn't do that anymore, or like she's so good at this,
Yeah.
and like there obviously is like so many things still that are like she's not good on the leash, she's not completely house trained. Like you have to be
Peeing
watching her all the time to make sure she
peeing in
doesn't.
your house.
Yeah, she will. I think she did as soon as this call started because I was like, hey guys, I'm gonna start. And then like 2 minutes later, I heard them screaming like, no. So
Good.
yeah, it's
True.
fine.
True. So
She's getting there. She honestly, she's very close to being house trained. She just isn't good at communicating yet. Like when she needs to go outside, she kind of just like sits and looks at you, but
just
you don't
just
really know what
stares at
that
your
means.
face.
You're like,
Just
what do you
stares at your
want?
face, eh?
Yeah, she does. She's obsessed. She just sits and stares.
She loves that
You're like,
face.
hi. Yeah,
True.
but yeah, it's been fun. It's been really fun.
That's awesome. Like I was so happy that you got like a dog and like you've been like doing super well with the dog and your job and your friends and just like I look into you for like I look at you for like inspiration and motivation and it's like it's been super nice to see a person kind of like balance like friends
Oh.
like a pet and like their like full-time job and like it's super inspirational and like I hope
Mm-hmm.
individuals like who are listening to this like understand that like it's achievable. You can be a nurse, you can have a dog, and you can have a life. And you can probably have a boyfriend. Who knows who the fuck knows? Like boyfriend or a girlfriend. Who the fuck? But like
Maybe one day.
maybe, yeah, yo Jamie, you'll have one. You're special. So um
Maybe.
I just wanted to
Thanks.
say Jamie, thank you so much for coming on the first episode of Lifestyle Blueprints. It's been so amazing to talk to you, and I am so happy to kind of like have you on the show, talk to you, catch up, and have you as my first guest. And it's been a great talk, and I hope that you continue to do what you do and continue to strive for greatness like you are doing. And I'm just gonna keep on rooting for you, and I'm gonna hold you close to my heart, and it's gonna be amazing. So, yeah, you're
Thank
gonna be
you.
yeah, you're just gonna be one of my best friends, and it's gonna be amazing. So, thank you to anyone who's like listening to this right now. I hope you were kicking in with a fucking drink like me, Ferda. But yeah,
Or water if
so
you're like me.
yeah, water's like Jamie. But thank you for listening to this. If you are listening to this or watching this, stay tuned for the next episode. This is the first debut episode, but there's gonna be a lot more. But yeah, thank you so much, and I hope you guys are all staying safe during
Thanks for
COVID.
having me.
Yeah, no problem, man. And Jamie, I hope we
It was
all
fun.
yeah, I hope we all wish that everyone's like staying safe, wearing a mask, and you know,
Yep.
we're all gonna get
Wear a
through
mask.
this. And yeah, stay tuned to the next episode. And yeah, we're gonna be okay. So stay tuned to the next episode. Thank you, Jamie Wakefield, and see you in the next one.
Yes, we are. Bye.